record to this computer. There we go. You're all set. Have a good meeting.
Thank you. All right. Welcome to the Scituate Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Committee meeting. It is Monday, January 22nd. It is 6:33 p.m. I'll first just read the announcement that on March 29th, 2023, Governor Healy signed a supplemental budget bill, which among other things extends the temporary provisions pertaining to the open meeting law. She extended them to March 31st, 2025. Specifically, this extension allows public bodies to continue holding meetings remotely without a quorum of the public body physically present at a meeting location, and to provide adequate alternative access to remote meetings. This meeting will be recorded by Scituate Community Television and can be viewed live on Scituate Community Television Facebook Live. The recorded meeting will be available the following day on Comcast Channel 9 and YouTube Scituate Community Television. I'm going to read our commitment statement. This is a safe, secure space for all people, especially people of color, and for all underrepresented people and communities. This is a space where people can bring up challenges and questions without fear. We will assume best intentions, and we will treat one another with politeness and respect at all times. This committee is dedicated to these standards. We want our members and others joining our meetings to feel welcomed and respected. Okay, thank you. So with that, I will call the meeting to order. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Celia. I will call the roll. Ms. Swope?
Here.
Ms. Risha?
Yes.
Ms. Sun?
Yes.
Ms. Gulata?
Yes.
And I am a yes. Okay, great. All right. It's been and we skipped December. We actually skipped October too. So we actually have and here's Christina. We should have minutes from September 27th and November 14th. Let's see. I forget who did what. I think I did September 27th. And Carrie, you did one of them, right? I forget which one you did, which one I did.
I think I must have done November. I'm trying to just pull it up.
Yeah,
but
you did
do one of them.
You got the cheat code. I didn't get the cheat code.
Oh, that's true.
You got the AI assistance, right?
I did. It was easier for me. Yes, I had November.
All right. So we'll take them one by one. So September 27th, I know that was a while ago, but does anyone have any commentary on the September 27th minutes? Okay. Does anyone have any commentary on the November 14th minutes? Okay, I don't either. So I would like to call the roll and vote on the acceptance of both cumulatively. Hopefully we can do that. So I would like to call to accept the minutes from September 27th, 2023 and the minutes from November 14th, 2023. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thanks, Celia. Okay, calling the roll. Ms. Swope.
Yes.
Ms. Risha.
Yes.
Ms. Sun.
Yes.
Ms. Gulata.
Yes.
And Ms. Gilberti.
Yes.
And I am a yes. Okay, great. All right, let's get into it. Jamil, thanks for attending. We'll give you the floor if you want to kick us off and talk about what's going on in the schools, and then we'll spin it over to Maura and talk about town stuff, if that's okay.
Yeah, not a problem at all. And I'll need to excuse myself around early around 7-ish or so. So part of my early exit. First thing I want to say is some folks are the folks that were there last Monday. Thanks for coming out to the MLK Memorial. It was incredible. It just continues to just become more and more enhanced, but with the student voices and the messaging coming therein. I mean, there's a lot, many proud moments in the memorial. So thanks for that. This is our third one, you know, hey. And the issue we have now is running out of time for everyone that wants to be a part of it. So that's a great thing to have to navigate. So awesome. And thanks for all of you for helping to make it happen and continuing to give it life. So it was great, especially the time that we're in right now where we just, messages of love and hope are great and wonderful to receive. Let's see, the lit bedtime stories, those are going really well, like really well. We had our largest attendance this last Tuesday with Nicole Gracia. And so then tomorrow we'll have Cheryl Rydell, and then next week we'll have Natasha, Reverend Stewart will be there. So check it out. I mean, it's just been really awesome. Last week, Nicole read My Brother Martin, and then did a poem that was at the end of it, created a whole video, and then she gave us almost a tour of her, we call it the Gracia Farm, because they have a axolotl, lizard, rabbits, all kinds of stuff. Anyway, it was great. So that was great. As Tom and I spoke through email, we have a new METCO director has been hired. And so his name is Sean Ayala. And if you haven't, I'm sure you will meet Sean. And so this is a good thing. And Daryl was fantastic, and that's my partner, that's my homie. I look forward to this team of Marcavius and Sean, because this is probably the most stable the program will have been in the last 4 or 5 years, pretty much. Because Daryl, like I said, is my partner, and he's incredible, but he was always interim. You know what I mean? But now Sean is definitely permanent and is there, and Marcavius is president as well. Marcavius got a change in his position as well, but still connected to the program. So that's great. I was speaking with folks, and if you're a senior, in which there are 2 seniors graduating this year, you would have seen 2 different principals, at least in the high school, and 1, 2, and 3 different METCO directors. So, but this is a turning point, and a good turning point for our METCO journey as a district. So I'm really proud about this happening and how we're gonna roll out and do some great things.
Jamil, just a quick question. So, and I know I kind of asked you this over email, but Marcavius was leaving, right? And he decided
he was going to, yeah. He decided to stay. And when he stayed, his position was remixed a little bit. So yeah.
Great. No, that's fantastic.
Absolutely. Let's see. The chief and I are going to continue a tradition. I guess we'll make it annual, where the quick version is last year, myself, Marcavius, and Daryl, as Black males, met all the officers on the Scituate Police Department force, just to again to be proactive and to know each other and try to disrupt that narrative of Black males and police not getting along and things like that. This year we're continuing that on, but with the hiring of Taisha Fluker, the new HR director, and Sean Ayala, the new METCO director, whom are both identifies Black folks. They're gonna both join us, along with Rosalind Kamani, who is the high school, one of the high school adjustment counselors. And so all of us are gonna have, again, meet and greet with all the officers. That's part of our Scituate Police Department, and it went great last year. And there's no reason why it's not gonna be fantastic this year. We just get to know each other and again disrupt that narrative, that negative narrative. So those are great things. Let's see. Some of you may know this, but if not, I'm happy and proud to share that Anne-Marie Galvin, and I don't know who the person is at the Real, along with myself and Jesse Finney, and Latinville, all playing a small part. Anne-Marie is really the energy on it. Is gonna do something with the film American Fiction. I don't know if you haven't heard of it. It's about a Black author. He's a writer's writer, but his books aren't doing. This is what the trailer seems to suggest. His books aren't doing too well, but everybody is loving the hood stories. And so, as a joke, he writes a hood tale. People fall in love with it, and so there goes an identity journey for himself and his writing and things like that. Now, the interesting pieces are some of it actually was filmed in Scituate. I think it was either this summer or last summer. And then if it
What
was
about-
this summer, it was this summer?
No, it was it was at least a year ago, if not 2 years ago.
Yeah.
It was during
Yep.
COVID, and it was filmed like all in Sand Hills, a ton of it.
There you go. And then one of the producers is actually an alum of Scituate High.
Yeah.
And so the Anne-Marie and the Real were working together, and because it's released, but it's like one of those select theater kind of things at this point. And so the Real is actually going to get it, and they're going to have a couple of showings. I want to say it's February 1st, 2nd, 3rd, and 4th, and then the 8th, 9th, and 10th. So it's like a Thursday through Sunday for 2 weeks in a row. We are trying to schedule a day for showing to also be accompanied by a discussion afterwards. And Anne-Marie is trying to work her network to see if she can get the producer from Scituate to be a part of it as well. So those are some great, that's another fantastic thing that's happening. And another great community thing is Richard, I can't remember Richard's last name. He's a staff member, and Sam Lesniak are working with folks who are the energy behind Traces of the Trade. Has anyone heard about this yet? Traces of the Trade. So Traces of the Trade is the story of this family in Rhode Island who they learned that they actually were descendants of a family who were considered the largest slave traders in Rhode Island. And so instead of trying to hide it and, push it, under the carpet and things like that, they actually have gone on a journey to just share the story, hold on to some accountability, and then share the tale of it. But I believe that it's a husband and wife team, and the wife is identifies as a Black female and the husband's a white male. And so there ergo some more interesting history for the family. But so we're in conjunction with our friends at the library. We're going to that's going to be one of our lit community conversations. We're trying to find a date now, and it'll probably be in March is what we're going for. And the goal is to have one take place there in Scituate, and then we also want to have it also take place in Boston at the library, so that our Boston resident students and their families can experience it in person as well. So stay on the lookout for that, but we are moving. We got funds for it already, so we're set there. And I think that might have been. Let me see. Yeah, those are all the things that were I wanted to share. The lit teams, all the schools are doing great. The beauty there is that this year all the teams are being run by staff at each school, and I'm just checking in with the staff kind of thing. So before it was myself and staff. So now this is evolution. This is a good thing that's happening, and they're doing quite well. So those are that. I think that's all the information I got for right now to share out.
Excellent. I put the snapshot of the American Fiction in the group chat. If anyone wants to take a look at that, and I don't know if you can copy it from there or whatever, but
You can, I did. I'll send it to the board. It's nice.
Yeah, and like Jamil said, Anne Marie is going to try to arrange some kind of showing of some sort, and maybe even a panel after the movie. So my daughter's a movie buff, and she cannot wait to see this movie. And supposedly tomorrow the Academy Award nominations are coming out, and American Fiction is expected to get several nominations.
Really?
Yeah, I mean it's big names. I mean Jeffrey Wright, and there's quite a cast, so it's a big deal.
Good stuff.
Jamil or Tom, whenever they book the discussion after, would you share the date of that with us in case we don't hear from the real? Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, she's kicking around the dates now, so it'd be a fun event. All right, great, thanks. Maura, town updates.
Sure. So first, Happy New Year, everyone. I know it's 1/22, but it's nice to see everybody. The town, the select board continues to do a lot of work with budgeting. Some concerns with the way in which the budget's going to look like coming down from the state with some of the new projections from the legislature and the governor. So we're trying to be as conservative as we can, not to get ourselves into any kind of a difficult situation for the upcoming year. So we will continue with our interdepartmental budgetary hearings tomorrow, as well as our meeting tonight. We'll be covering some zoning bylaws that will be at annual town meeting in April. So we just continue to do that. Upcoming events, just to keep an eye on, as you know, I know, why am I drawing a blank? Angela. No, Angela's not here tonight, but lots of
No,
sister
she is.
city-
She
Oh,
is.
she is? Oh, I didn't
Yeah.
think she was joining. Oh,
I was late.
oh, there you are. I went off my screen. I'm looking elsewhere. Hi, Angela. Then I'll be quiet. Because I thought you probably want to share all the sister city stuff, so I was going to do that for you. But I won't do that. So lots of stuff going on there. And just to bring to your attention, not sure if you know, but there will be an additional special town meeting specifically for the Hatherley school project that'll be taking place in April. So there will be 2 annual town meetings. So get those on your calendars if you see them. I think 29th is the special one. And I believe I gotta look for the regular one, must be 2 weeks earlier, but really important stuff coming up in the next couple of months. So that's all I have. And before I do have one comment that I'd like us all to consider, though. I don't know, Tom, if you'll be going over or maybe a future agenda item. I'm just wondering if we should revisit as a committee, like what our goals will be for the next year. Because you've all accomplished so much, and I don't know, new things come up, different things happen. Curious if there's any different perspective from the committee on adjusting or adding or looking at this a little differently.
Yeah, I mean, I think that would be a good idea. I mean, there's only a few of us that have, I'm looking at Celia and Angela. And I know Kate, you came on really early, but I don't think you were part of the inaugural group. So there's been, a number of newer faces. Some have only been with us for a few meetings, and then some, I don't know, time flies. I'm not going to put a time frame on it. Christine, it feels like you've been with us for a year, but it's probably been more like 6 months. I don't know.
Almost a year in March, I think.
Almost a year. Oh my goodness. Yeah, so I am not against that at all, Maura. I think level setting that, would be a good idea to hear different perspectives. I know the charge I don't think changes, right? But I think lining up additional. It's not. I don't think we're struggling to find things to work on. I don't think that's my point, but having
Prioritizing, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, having a half a dozen things on our list that we can kind of really attack as a group. I mean, we want to get things done, right? And I think I'm speaking for everybody.
Mhm.
I don't want to keep going over the same status items every month without necessarily making tangible progress. That makes sense.
Does. And one thing I am remiss to say that nomination papers are out. So if folks know anybody that wants to run for the select board position that will be open, let us know, encourage them. I'm not sure if there are any school committee positions open yet, but put your smart thinking caps on there. It'd be appreciated.
And when is that election? Does it coincide?
Oh, you had to ask me 1 minute. It's May, not May 11th. It's the weekend after May 11th. A minute. So what would that be? May 17th?
Okay.
1 sec. I don't have to pay attention, so I'm not. I I believe it's the 18th.
Okay.
I'll double check for you and get back to you. We just looked
Okay.
at the site.
To Maura's point, I think a challenge for us for 2024 is that so much is happening this legislative session that could trickle down, that it's, I think for me, hard to make a recommendation before, like, let's say the legislature does something and then the town has to react. So I'll give an example, like Scituate is great in that it's one of the towns or municipalities complying with the MBTA communities law that, you know, urges towns to build housing around commuter stations. A lot of towns are in the news for not abiding by it and taking really hard negative positions, and we're not. So let's say, for example, the housing bill that the governor introduced goes forward. That's going to put forward things for the town. So it's just I think it's almost like we are reacting to other people's reaction. But I think what came up today during, and we can get to this later in the agenda, but in the call with Bob and the new media person, is more about like the systemic piece. Like, we really have great town leaders in place now, both elected and appointed, but we need to institutionalize some of these things. So it's not enough that we have like Maura and Jim and Bob. Like, one day they won't be with the town. So I think some things we need to look at that, like that systemic element of stuff. And the special town meeting too reminds me, Tom, were we, and I'm sorry, I missed the last meeting, going to connect with that group that was it the advisory committee that Connor's on, to sort of like review what was on the agenda, and then if warranted, we would weigh in, or
Yeah, I
no?
was gonna bring that up tonight, and see. And more, so I'm not sure the last meeting that you were on, Maura, but I had a conversation with Connor Doherty, who's on the advisory committee.
Uh-huh.
We were talking about ways that whether we can discuss the mechanics of it, but ways that our committee could look at the different items that would go in front of the advisory board, the advisory committee, and ensure that they are being looked at, you know, blessed or debated through a DEI lens.
Yeah, I mean, I think it makes sense. I think you'd have to look at it on your own collectively. It would become an agenda item for you, right?
I think so.
Yeah. So you might want to think about that. Let's take a look at the charge again too, just make sure we're within that. I guess it would be because, right, it's policies and procedures. I'm thinking out loud right now.
Yeah.
You know, and how and how we ensure there's equity. So let's talk about an efficient way to do that, because you don't want to become a second advisory committee and meet another meeting every week. I mean, if any of you have ever sat through an advisory session during the budgetary period, it's a lot of work. But I think it might make sense if you take a look. If there's a way in which maybe they can summarize it for you, I'm wondering, maybe they summarize it, hand it over to you folks to give your final blessing before it's completely approved. Maybe that's the way. So Tom, let me think about that, because I know I'm thinking out loud, and maybe you and I can figure out a way that it could work effectively and not take up an enormous amount of time.
Yeah. Okay.
So I think it's a good idea.
Yeah.
Yeah, let me think about that.
Maura, you seem to allude, Angela, do you have an update on Sister City stuff, or?
Yes, right now we are promoting our Sister City Winter Foreign Film Festival, which started in January. The first film was shown, and we're very excited this year that the films are being shown at the Rio. Last year we had it was at the Senior Center, which is a beautiful facility, but the theater just gives, you know, a wonderful atmosphere to watch the films. So the first film was Cyrano, and that was January 11th. This Wednesday is a matinee. So the Sister City project is working with the senior center. There will be a bus to take folks from the senior center to the theater to watch Chocolat. The film will be in English, with French subtitles. The first movie was in French with English subtitles. So January is the month that the French Sister City is showing their films. In February, the Cape Verde Sister City is showing a short film called The Volcano's Last Wish. And we're really excited to show that with the community. We also have Vasco Perez, who's a historian, and he's on the production team that created the film. The film is based in our sister city. It's in one of the small towns, Cha, which is the town closest to the volcano in the island of Fogo. So he will be there to answer questions about the island, about the film. So that's going to be February 13th at 7 p.m. In March, Ireland, Sister City, will be showing the My Left Foot at 7 p.m. on March 5th. The wonderful thing about the Winter Film Festival, obviously, is to bring people to Scituate, to the harbor. So we partnered with the restaurants. I don't have all the list in front of me, but their Salt Society in the Vine Bar has wine featuring the countries that are showing the films. So we have wonderful support from them. And we just want to bring people to Scituate, celebrate the various, cultures from our sister city. If you go down to the reel, you'll see the posters outside the building. She has the main poster of this film festival, and then we have beautiful posters of each country. So people can, if they're driving by and they see France, Ireland, and Cape Verde, hopefully that shows they'll be interested in learning more about our sister city committees that we have. So we're really excited, and hopefully you guys can make some of the films. Yeah, it should be fun.
Are they all published somewhere cumulatively, or
Are they what?
are they all, how are they being advertised?
There's we sent out notifications in our mailing list. It's on the Facebook pages, Instagram pages for the sister cities. I know Jim's done a wonderful job announcing it in the weekly updates, the town weekly updates. So yeah, we have it out there. We'll have another flyer specifically for the Cape Verde film, just to explain it, because where the other ones have been feature films, 2 hours, 2 hours and 20 minutes. This is a short, so it's a shorter film. And we just want people to know that there's a question and answer, and there's more, we may have someone also coming to perform a little Cape Verdean song and music. Because it's really about the storytelling. So the film, The Volcano's Last Wish, is a beautiful story about a grandfather who's like an elder in the community in the little village, and him passing on the storytelling and the history to his grandson before his, as his grandfather's approaching his 100th birthday. So it's a really sweet. In the film and the scenes of Cape Verde, you'll really get a sense of how beautiful, my island is. So hopefully you all can see that.
Excellent. All right, does anyone have any questions for Jamil or Maura on anything that we've discussed so far? Okay, what I'm thinking about, back to the quick discussion that we had about goals, is maybe we have to go over the meeting dates. I picked these meeting dates. I think I put it in my email. I think these, for the most part, they come out to the third Tuesdays in each month. I know there begins to be some, I think we're safe through like April or May, and then I looked further in the calendar and there's all kinds of conflicts with the select board meeting. So for just take my word for it that I think we're good for February and March and maybe April, and then I may need to rejigger it again. But for assuming that we meet on February 20th, maybe we devote the lion's share of that meeting. We can do like quick updates, but we devote the lion's share of that meeting to agreeing on goals for the rest of 2024. Does that make sense? Okay, cool. All right. So Celia, I don't know if you want to take the lead or somebody on the meeting that took place today with Bob, and I believe you had an audience with the communications director. I don't know if that's his or her correct title, but
Yeah, Christina was there as well. It's Kathy, so she's part-time. We met with her and Bob this morning. So Christina, chime in. I'm just gonna read from my notes. So she is, let me go through here right now. We started the meeting in the weeds, talking more so about like analytics and what she has access to from the town's listserv, who subscribed to emails, what she can get in terms of our followers from Google Analytics, and then looking at Facebook. That came about because she was talking about how we distribute information in different ways, meaning she had just gone through a project where she was printing out flyers for the senior center because different populations digest it differently. So that was great to hear about, you know, the different types of ways that we're disseminating information. Facebook is giving her more ways to analyze data than what's on our listserv. So I think that's going to be an upcoming project, is to figure out how many people are currently on the town's email list. But it does sound like she has taken on already, along with several town departments and officials, just trying to get more people subscribed to hear from the town by adding it to the end of like Jim's town update, or I don't know if it's at the end of select board meetings or slides, etc. So it's being integrated wherever, just to get more people on there. We talked a lot about, let's see, Google Translate and just making sure that language accessibility is out there. One thing, I don't think I had known this before the meeting, was that a lot of what goes on the town website is in PDF form. So if you think about like our meeting minutes, for example, you go to the landing page and it's like, yeah, click here for the minutes. And then you have to open up the PDF. Well, Google Translate doesn't translate the PDF. So we had to talk a lot about like how we put stuff on the website, and does the platform support translation? It does not right now. So over the next 6 months or so, Christina, right, she said she's looking at the website to evaluate whether that's the platform the town will continue with, or whether there'll be a shift. Either way, a part of that analysis is going to be doing some research on either platforms or tools or widgets, whatever they're called, that could, you know, translate things like PDFs better. Christina, did I get that right?
Yeah, absolutely. Just from working at the library, you know, it's the same website. They use Civic Plus, and so there are some limitations to the way that the website, you know, functions because of the way it's formatted and everything. Like I know how you guys were hoping to have like the Google Translate be moved to the top, but it can't. And so she was, you know, trying to see what I feel like, what did she say? Like, I think you said like 6 months, is that they were going to look into, you know, maybe something new for the town to be able to pursue. And I think the challenge was, rather than kind of redirecting to a PDF, like you could, you know, try and create a new page, but the town didn't want to do that because you could have so many pages, and it just gets lost in the shuffle. Like it would be impossible to, you know, navigate. There would just be tons of pages, and it probably wouldn't even, you know, support it. But it was a really good meeting. I think she definitely has a lot on her plate. She's in 18 hours. And I think her official title is media manager. But I think she does want to follow up with us once she has, you know, more information. I know we were talking about how we were trying to figure out how many subscribers I think that, you know, with the town had to the email, like the listserv, but since there are so many topics that you can kind of sign up for, like, oh, I'm interested in like the DEI committee, she kept getting duplicated list names. So it was just, her Excel sheet I was looking at it, it's huge. So she just needs to kind of sort through to actually see how many people that are on subscribers, in total, so that you can have an accurate account. But I think Bob estimated, like, they think that it was like 4,000 right now, but it could be more than that because of the QR codes that are posted around town, and the direct links to the website that are there so that they can register and sign up.
Yeah. And a few more things. I'm just like looking at my notes. I told her I would share the slide deck that you presented to the select board, Tom, with, sort of like our priority areas for that role. She hadn't seen it yet. I had also sent her live an example of Pier 44 when they sent out a townwide survey over the listserv. So she has that because she was asking about how to disseminate information to do some community outreach, just one form of it through the town. Bob is also going to send her, we had done some digging earlier on in our meetings and identified the top like 5 languages spoken in the town. So he's going to send that over to her. Our big thing was like, yes, we can, send people to Google Translate and all that, but a lot of the notices we get, whether it's like the printed like mailing about like, don't drink the water, it's bad, or emergency management, like those right on it, we can create right now boilerplate language in multiple, let's say 5 languages that says, this is an important notice if you need help translating, blah, 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 something. We don't need to translate the entire thing, but low barrier to entry here, we have to put that out in multiple languages, and that could go across a lot of different things. And it was just a suggestion that I made, but I know we can't boil the ocean, but we can pick 3 different types of communications, and it could be public health notices, emergency management, and public safety.
Mhm.
And then everything else, if we don't have the budget for it, let us know. And then if it's a priority, we can then say, hey, select board, we recommend you put more money behind this, but at least trying to start out with those 3. One thing she did share that we didn't think about is if you add more text or inserts to mailings, you can only do it up until the point where it like increases the cost of postage. So you have to be really careful about what you add, because if the postage goes up, you can't, she's not allowed to send it, the town can't. So just some of those little things we have to consider.
How many pages where you have to put another stamp on it?
Uh,
I'm asking for a friend.
I go to the post office for everything.
I just put 2 stamps because I don't want to deal with it.
Oh, this is what I mentioned earlier. One thing that came up was, we asked, like, do you essentially vet all communication for various, like, let's say DPW or whoever wants to put out something on water. Do they just send it, or do they have to go through her? And she's like, oh, town departments can just send it. And I was like, wait a minute. Like, I don't want to add to your plate, but this is where we talk about like processes and this living longer than her and Bob and Maura. Like, there needs to be a place where somebody sees it and is like, wait a minute, did you add like the translate thing here? Did you add this? Just like some processes. So we put that out there just so folks aren't going rogue, and then other town departments are, very much like applying an equity lens. What else?
Yes, I mean, Celia made that recommendation. She had really great ideas. Just she's saying we, but I had none of those recommendations. So shout out to Celia. But she also said, oh gosh, where was I going with this? Literally just forgot. So that's fun.
But the municipality conference?
Yeah, yes. I forgot about that, but yeah, Kathy attended the Municipal Association conference. I think that was this past Friday. She received she's hoping to receive a slideshow that she's going to share with us too. It seemed very data driven. And she was really interested in what she had learned, but like she was mentioning, when you're kind of in one of those, sort of events, kind of flip through the slides pretty quickly. So she wants to be able to share that information with us. So it'll be interesting for us to kind of take a look at.
That was
one thing that came up that we weren't.
The Mass Municipal Conference, is that what you said?
Yep, the MMA conference, yeah, Mass Municipal Association conference.
Okay.
It's held annually around this week, Tom.
I think the data piece is important too, because I was sharing that I just had gone to a presentation from some attorneys, essentially talking to supplier diversity professionals about how they can protect their programs in light of the Supreme Court decision on affirmative action, because I know folks don't think it applies to non-academic institutions that don't accept federal funding, but I think folks are scared. And so some might be scaling back DEI initiatives. And actually, I had shared with her in relation to this data conversation at MMA that the advice that attorneys gave was the opposite of what people are doing. I think people are scared, so they're scaling back and not sharing their goals publicly. But the attorneys had advised that you want to do the opposite. You want to say, like, for example, Scituate has X percentage of this demographic. Therefore, our goal is to do X to support this community. Like, you need to have that proof point, and that's what actually protects your DEI programs and initiatives, and people are doing the opposite. So I just wanted to share that in a public forum. So the data will be important, and that's why we talked a lot about those analytics you can get from Facebook and the listserv, just so we can say, even on the translation piece, like, hey, the community is X percent, Portuguese speaking, we really need to, apply some of the town budget there. So it's again around protecting the town as well. And then the final thing I learned, I don't know, I was a little surprised by this. I guess I don't go on Facebook, so I didn't know this, but I guess the town's page on Facebook has comments shut off. So the attorneys are evaluating whether that's permissible or not, whereas public safety has theirs turned on in case of leads or anything. I raised the concern personally as somebody who's not on Facebook, is that if the town were to use the comments to A, solicit feedback, B, take the pulse of a town on an issue, do polling, etc., the whole town is not represented on Facebook. So for me, it presents an equity issue where you're creating one avenue for one set of people to get information. So I would personally prefer if the attorneys were to go for it, to be like, this is the email address or the mailbox where you can send your comments or send a direct message instead of just posting. Because then the other thing is, who's going to moderate this? Like, if, yes, people could be concerned about First Amendment rights, which is why they're reviewing it. But what if hate speech pops up? Like, you have to constantly be on these social media pages if you allow for comments. So that just opens up a whole host of issues, and I hadn't even crossed my mind, but throwing it out there.
And then I think one of the things that at least we learned today is the importance of maybe having, sort of standardization of the way that, forms go, like Celia was mentioned, and just having maybe some key things like make sure you have X, Y, and Z, like on the mailings that go out. Just consistency was key to make sure that, everything that goes out has the same sort of, standards and practice, things like that.
So she hasn't been on the job very long, right? It's only been a couple of months. Does she have like, is she already cited a couple of quick wins, or is she looking at this, over a much longer kind of time frame?
We didn't talk about that. I mean, Christina, you were there in person. I know she mentioned a project unrelated to this that she's currently working on. So I think it's just going to be a matter of carving out time to do this, but it's definitely top of mind. And even like, it's good to know that like the website is like a 6-month type project for her to do some of the research around that. So now she could do the research and think about this too. So I think it was good we met early on and we discussed meeting again. So we can check in on progress. And if there are, I think the hard thing is, I don't know if there are quick things with the website when you're trying to, I'm not a comms person, but I think you want to like, maybe if she's going to revamp it all at once, I think Elena or others may know, like there's certain things right now we can't even move, even though we think they're quick wins, they may not be. I don't know if I answered your question, Tom, but
Website projects are expensive. I mean,
yeah,
and they take months, if not a year, right? Just because, whatever. I'm not actually a technologist, but I know enough about it that, there's the database, there's the front end, there's just a lot that goes on. I'm trying to do that. And I think that would be a substantial ask to the town. I would think that, yeah, I mean, that's a longer strategic project, but in the meantime, I think you mentioned like, how do we increase the subscription with what we have, right? And focus on the languages and all the different things that you mentioned, so.
Yeah, like Celia touched on earlier, because since I work at the library, she drops off a lot of like printed out copies of things like holiday closings and hours, information that I think it was about like from DPW, about salt brining, things like that. And I think she kind of took that upon herself and making sure that those kind of hand copies were available in businesses in town, as well as the senior center and the library and things like that.
And
But
Christine, I thought of
yeah.
another quick one, actually. She mentioned integrating just like accessibility into a bunch of presentations and on the website already. So for example, if you are colorblind, you can't easily see certain colors. So doing away with certain font colors in presentations or on the website. She's already started to tackle that. Making sure when the town posts an image on like the Facebook page or elsewhere, it's also accompanied by text, because not everybody could obviously see the image, or just depending on how the website works. So just making sure we're thinking about like ADA compliance as well. So
Mhm.
that's something that she's already started to do proactively, which is great.
Sounds like she definitely looks at these things the way that we would like her to. That's good. All right, I appreciate that. Thanks for the detailed run through on that. So are there any follow-ups with that, or just great meet and greet, and she knows that we're here to help if we can? Okay. Cool.
Yeah, I think I have to, Bob is sending her some of the information on the languages spoken. I have to send her the deck. I already sent her one other. Yeah, so I think it's small things like that. And we might want to check in again in like 4-ish months, maybe give her some time to settle. We gave her a lot of information.
Yeah.
But we'll definitely circle back.
Yeah.
Okay. Sounds good. One other update. So I think the last meeting we had, so we talked about the equitable communications, and we also talked again about the various things that we have that we've discussed and tackled around Indigenous peoples. And we talked about, hey, maybe a quick win would be to work on a land acknowledgement, right? And I know and unfortunately Jamil dropped off, but I think Jamil has some passion for this. So I did catch up with Natasha, because I think she had mentioned in the last meeting, I think it's the Unitarian Church has a land acknowledgement statement on their website. And therefore Natasha and her her church has spent some time on this, and they've done some education around it and so forth. And what the way that she, and I think some of her other clergy in town are tackling this, is they're ensuring that there's an education piece that comes with it before they just decide on a land acknowledgement statement and mandate that they start reading it. So long story short, Natasha was a little reticent, and I understand it. We spent a decent amount of time, our committee, coming up with a commitment statement, and that was a success. The select board, they have their commitment statement, and as far as I know, it's being read at most, if not all, the town committees, the town meetings, and so forth. I think it needs to be genuine. I don't know if this is gonna come out wrong, but she was a little apprehensive about if we were to, come up with a separate land acknowledgement statement, without necessarily, consulting the local tribes, of which I don't think any of us have a relationship with them. So what she had recommended, and I won't share it now, but what she had recommended was, maybe if we get to the point where we are comfortable, but we're probably going to have some conversations, with Plymouth or Mashpee, or someone that, better represents that community than I think any of us on this call. Potentially incorporating aspects of an acknowledgement statement in our existing commitment statement, so that we don't impress upon the town that before every meeting, they're reading 2 or 3 different statements. It may have an unintended kind of effect, if you know what I mean. I don't know if anyone has any, I didn't articulate that well, but I don't know if anyone has any comments on that.
I think I mean, that was the first thing that came to my mind when we started talking about should we think about instituting a land acknowledgement would be, I would want to look to like the local indigenous community for their guidance on that. And so I think educating ourselves on where those relationships exist and starting there makes a lot of sense to me. So I know I need to educate myself in terms of, you know, who we have relationships with in the indigenous community, but starting there does seem to make sense before you know, moving forward with trying to think about a land acknowledgement. So I agree with that.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think anyone's disputing. I mean, it's a fact that, and I'll just read part of, you know, insert name of committee recognizes that we are living and working on the ancestral lands of the native Massachusetts and Wampanoag tribes, and we strive to honor the indigenous people. And then it goes on from there. So I mean, that's not what's in dispute, but I think it would just be a little, I don't know if it's disingenuous, but to just blindly start reading those type of statements and impressing upon other committees and boards and so forth in town to start reading those statements without getting input from the community at large. And it wouldn't necessarily be even people in Scituate. It would be, you know, the various groups throughout Massachusetts, frankly, that have been pushing a number of these the indigenous causes, from, you know, Columbus Day to the town seal to the things that we've been discussing all along. And unfortunately, I don't think a lot of those legislative movements have made a ton of progress. I think there's still bills that are open, and I'm on different alerts and so forth, but I haven't seen much. So, okay. Does anybody have anything else? Those were at the top of my list. I have a couple of emails that I'm going to have to apologize to Lauren Vitale, because he and I have had a conversation or two about compensation audits. I don't want to call it an equity audit because it's more around compensation, which is her area of expertise. I owe her an email in another meeting to kind of get a little deeper with it. I did bring this up at one of our past meetings. I know, Celia, you mentioned that there were various legislative things going on at the state level around equity audits. And maybe we wait on some of that, but that's something that I just kind of have going on the side, if you will. But does anybody else have anything else they want to bring up? All right, next meeting then.
Sorry, Tom, one
Next
thing.
meeting, we're gonna hit it with the goals. Sorry, Celia, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, to Maura's reminder about the special town meeting on the Hatherley Cushing project. I remember it was, you know, Maura, when we talked about like the, you know, gender neutral bathrooms and other things we recommended very early on for town buildings, just to make, I think we're way past the design of those buildings, but I would hope that they were integrated. You know what I mean? Things that we had recommended early on. So just wanted to flag that.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. So the design isn't done down to that level.
Oh,
know,
okay.
It does indicate where bathrooms are, but as far as male, female, I haven't seen anything like that yet. So when I'm there, I'll make sure I raise that. I'll actually send them a note because I can't go to the meeting next week or the next one because I'm out of town. But that's a good point. But no one has really seen that level of detail yet. Like
Yeah.
they've got it mapped out as to like what the layout of the first floor looks like and the second floor, but everything is movable. So it's not all assigned yet, if you will.
Got it. And then the
Okay.
one thing I might want to go to this meeting. I think the other thing, because I was on the school's website reading about this today, I went into a rabbit hole. But I saw that a general contractor was selected, and so I just wanted to know, like, before they pick their subs, that, you know, are we selecting diverse firms? Are we selecting local firms, veteran-owned firms, women-owned firms? Like, as we give them money, tier 2 spending is really important. So I know the prime contractor was selected, but thinking about who they're selecting and if in the town's process they had any sort of requirement on kind of like the Massport model, if people are familiar with it, like X percentage must go to these types of businesses. So just maybe some digging, maybe I'll try to take that on.
Yeah, I don't know who their subcontractors are and what they do. I would imagine that they've got requirements to remain state certified, because obviously they all need to be, you know,
Yeah.
state certified and on that list. So, but good question, definitely a good question.
I will note that, so our next meeting that I mentioned is February 20th. That is school vacation week. So I said, send me a note earlier rather than later if we need to move that. I think I'm good with it. But my wife might have other ideas, but I think I'm good with it. I think I'm free. So yes.
Question for that meeting. So if we're planning to talk about goals, is there a place we can easily find last year's goals? You may have already sent them, or I should know where they are, but I don't think, not sure.
Yeah. So I will, it's been a while since I updated it. We used to keep everything. I'm sure it's still out there, but in the early days we were using Slack. But I will dig that stuff out, and I'll send the most recent copy to everybody. So everybody's working from the same thing. I mean, basically what we had was a multi-tabbed spreadsheet where we would essentially just progress things through from, and it's also got our charge in there, and it's got the goals, and it's got everything from an opportunity to some stuff that we're actually actively working on, to things that we've closed and were successful on, and then other things that we closed for other reasons, saying we can't focus on this right now, or it's not in our charge or whatever. So I'll send that to the entire committee in the next couple days.
Awesome.
I can't promise that it's been updated in a little while, but I will try my best. Okay. All right. So if no one has anything else, I would like to bring the meeting to a close. Do I have a second?
Second, Tom.
Thank you, Christina and Celia. Okay, so calling the roll, Ms. Swope,
Yes.
Ms. Risha,
Yes.
Ms. Gulata,
Yes.
Ms. Gilberti,
Yes.
Ms. Dre,
Yes.
Ms. Sun,
Yes.
and I am a yes. So it is 7:31 and the meeting is adjourned.